dreams come true? We're about to find out. It's Loyola Marymount against UNLV for the final spot next Saturday in the Final Four. The winner here will take on Georgia Tech, as Duke and Arkansas will meet in the other national semifinal. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brett Musburger. Certainly the game that everyone has wanted to see now for a week, UNLV against Loyola Marymount. There is a breaking story concerning the Running Rebels. Yesterday at practice, center David Butler pulled a couple of muscles in his back. And according to Coach Jerry Tarkanian, he received heat treatment throughout the evening. He reportedly is in much better shape today. And Billy Packer, I know you spoke with him just a short time ago.
I think David feels an awful lot better than he anticipated after yesterday's practice. He's obviously going to start, and Jerry really needs him.
This is a rematch of a season opener for both of these teams. And until the Alabama game, it was the lowest point total of the year for Loyola Marymount, losing 102-91 in Las Vegas. They scored only 37 second-half points, and there were many missing faces. David Butler and Moses Scurry were out because of academic problems. The late Hank Gathers did play, 18 points and 11 rebounds in that game. And from three-point land, where Loyola Marymount lives, they were 6 of 25. Billy, is there any lingering significance of that game?
Well, Brent, as you pointed out, so many different players were in that ball game. I think there are two factors. Number one, Paul Westhead's club is now running much better than they did at that time. And in my opinion, Jerry Tarkanian's perimeter game is lacking a lot of confidence right now.
Billy, I know that you have a favorite player with the Running Rebs, and that's a tremendously talented Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson, not only a great player physically, but he's a player that shows great leadership qualities. He's an All-American in every stretch of the imagination.
And on the other side is the nation's scoring leader, Bo Kimball, averaging better than 35 points a game.
Another outstanding young man, but I thought the other night he lost his cool a little bit when he picked up that third foul on a cheap call. He's got to keep his composure today.
What about the Loyola famed fast break, Billy?
They have one of the most unusual fast breaks that's ever been in college basketball. Here you'll see Troy Walker drive the ball at the basket, not for a two-point shot, but merely to set up in the low post and then become the distributor of the ball. As you can see what happens, Loyola Marymount surrounds the perimeter, the three-point line. Fryer in the right corner. Kimball has a trailer. Steamer also outside in the three-point area. Walker turns and faces, and he has three options. He can fire to any one of those three players. In this case, it goes out to Steamer. A perfectly executed three-point fast break. Very unusual, but very effective.
Coming up, it'll be Loyola Marymount and UNLV for a spot in the Final Four.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final game from Oakland, California is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when. The good time, great taste of McDonald's. And by Mazda Cars and Trucks. Mazda, it just feels right.
Well, let's meet the starting lineups now as we go to PA announcer Bill Glass.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum for today's West Regional Final between the Loyola Marymount Lions and the UNLV Running Rebels. And now let's meet the starting lineup. For Loyola Marymount, at forward, a 6'5" senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, number 30, Bo Kimball. For UNLV, at forward, a 6'8" junior from Pasadena, California, number 32, Stacy Ogman. For Loyola Marymount, at forward, a 6'7" junior from Södertälje, Sweden, number 4, Pers Steamer. For UNLV, at forward, a 6'7" junior from Dallas, Texas, number 4, Larry Johnson. For Loyola Marymount, at center, a 6'9" sophomore from Los Angeles, California, number 34, Chris Knight. For UNLV, at center, a 6'10" senior from Washington, D.C., 00, David Butler. For Loyola Marymount, at guard, a 6'1" junior from Riverside, California, number 32, Tony Walker. For UNLV at guard, a 6'1" and 1/2 inch sophomore from Detroit, Michigan, number 12, Anderson Hunt. For Loyola Marymount at guard, a 6'2" senior from Newport Beach, California, number 21, Jeff Pryor. For UNLV at guard, a 6'2" junior from Las Vegas, Nevada, number 50, Greg Anthony. And introducing the head coaches for Loyola Marymount in his 5th season, Paul Westhead. For UNLV in his 17th season, Jerry Tarkanian.
Jerry Tarkanian looking for his 3rd trip to the Final Four. Back with the opening tip in a moment. Reached the regional final in a different fashion. After blowing away New Mexico State and Michigan, then it was Alabama slowing the game down, but they prevailed 62-60. As for UNLV, they're halfway to a national championship. You have to win 6, and they have captured 3, but it was tough against Ball State, 69-67. James Burr, the veteran referee from Latham, New York, working with Rusty Herring, Durham, North Carolina, and Tom Rucker of Birmingham, Michigan, look for this game to be officiated closely at the start as Vegas controls right off the top. Ogman and Johnson play catch. Ogman with the game's first shot.
What we see right off the bat is that Knight's going to try to handle Johnson.
Driving layup. Eyes the scores. Tony Walker, who will wear 32 instead of number 12. He lost the jersey number 12, those of you who are familiar with this team. So Walker is in 32, and it did not take the Lions long to pull the trigger. That is inside of Big Johnson, and it's a lead. That's the man that they're going to have difficulty stopping on the blocks.
And obviously, Knight, no chance in there if he plays behind him, but they're going to just try to wear Johnson down.
Stacey Ogman, a great defender, is taking Bo Kimball. He's number 32. Kimball wearing 30, hasn't touched it. Pryor hits his first shot of the game. Long pass, turn it over. Las Vegas trying to hit Anderson Hunt, and it's out of bounds.
That's exactly what Paul Westhead would want, even if it hadn't been an errant pass, because what it does is establishes that tempo.
Walker sets the table. Steamer out to screen at the top of the key. Pryor, number 21. Knight is 34. He hasn't handled it. And a moving pick at the top by Steamer. And there is that tight call at the beginning of this game. They want to set the tone for it right away.
Just full court, man-to-man pressure. Trying to force tempo. They'll even give you 2 to get the ball back quick.
Anthony, the point man, out of Las Vegas, transferred out of Portland. Hunt now goes inside the Butler on the smooth turnaround.
And I think they may have to change and put Steamer over on Johnson, Knight on Butler.
He's taking his first shot, missing the left-hander. Off now quickly to Hunt. It's a 3-on-2, and Hunt pulls up the 3. That's the missing link for UNLV in this tournament. They will be lethal if they find someone to bury the 3 from the perimeter. Whip it inside, turn it over. Ogman with the interception and a foul, a reach back. Number 1 on Kimball. And Westhead immediately knows he's going to go to his bench and look early in this game.
Brent, not many teams have a player like Stacey Ogman that can move and play defense against any one of 5 position players. Low post, a point guard, wing people, or in this particular case, the nation's leading scorer in Bo Kimball.
They go to trap Anthony, but they get it across easily into Hunt's hands. UNLV starts out perfect from the floor. They have hit their first 4 shots. Anthony hesitates, takes the 3, and now they're 5 of 5 with 2 threes. Pryor answers with a 3. Butler pulling it away. Vegas rebound, and the 3rd foul going against Loyola Marymount, and this one is on Walker.
We'll see the rebound on Pryor's shot going way up in the air. Butler and Johnson just too physical on the inside and too big for Loyola Marymount.
This is Tarkanian, Lois, watching from the stands. Danny Tarkanian.
He doesn't have
there watching. watching, a former point guard for the Running Rebs, and now the ball will be out of bounds, UNLV.
Using Johnson and Butler to help bring the ball up.
Johnson in difficulty will send it to Butler. He'll bring it 2-on-1 to Hunt. They are perfect from the field. UNLV starting off with that look in their eye. Steamer travel off the fake.
When in the first game between these two teams, there were some runs very similar to this. A 22-4 run that Loyola Marymount had on Vegas, and yet Vegas came back. So this is not surprising, this type of up-tempo game.
He scored the last 10 points. Hunt will go again. Not that time, but Johnson yanks down the rebound, and Hunt says, I'll keep shooting. This is 2 in a row, and now Steamer with the defensive board into Walker's hand. Coming through, and shifts deflected Anthony. Loose ball, tracked down Vegas. Here comes Ogman.
The best finisher in college basketball.
Quickly off the floor now to Lowry, who had checked into the game. Terrell Lowry, number 20, out of the Oakland area, grew up about 9 miles from here.
Greg Anthony has something wrong with his mouth, and he's asked the ref to stop a second.
Pryor hits a 3, and we should update you on that story. He broke his jaw in 2 places back on February 12th. He took a horrible crash. There was speculation that he would be out 4 to 6 weeks. He practiced the next day and played 3 days later in a game, prompting Coach Jerry Tarkanian to call him the toughest player he's ever had. Now, that jaw is still wired shut, but the wires are loosened before the games now, allowing 50% mobility. Obviously a problem with that. Ogman with a miss coming back. Stripped now by the lines, and Kimball brings it back. Bo Kimball trying to get on the scoreboard with hustle in for his first shot. Yanked away by Cianovich, who replaced Anthony, the backup point guard. Lowry strips it from him in the corner. Spins inside. This yanked away by Butler, and the foul again going against Loyola Marymount. They get into early foul trouble.
Paul Westhead on the officials, as he does early in the ball game, wanting that hand checking, particularly when somebody is going for a basket, put under control.
So 14 fouls on Loyola and none yet on UNLV. Into the paint. 7 points for Anderson Hunt. Lowry hits night on the break.
Well, Westhead couldn't like the pace any more to his liking than what we're seeing right now.
Cianovich having some difficulty, gives it up, but it's Johnson helping out in the backcourt. Now it's Ogman. 6 for Ogman. Lost. Hunt. 3-on-1. Knocked out of bounds by Kimball, who retreated quickly.
Johnson filled the lane beautifully.
31 to 35.
Time to take a breath. We finally got a timeout.
Look out the 4 Loyola Marymount players defensively. Ball comes out. Ogman fills the lane. Anderson Hunt fills the lane. The traditional 2-on-1 break coming up right here. Good override pass. Takes it on in. Anderson Hunt with a beautiful layup, and he may not be able to finish as good as Ogman, but very close.
Over on the Las Vegas bench, they continue to work on Greg Anthony's mouth. He is not yet back in the lineup, so Cianovich continues to operate at point guard.
Zone defense by Loyola Marymount.
Another foul against Loyola, and this one is going to send Ogman up to the free throw line. And there is some of the treatment that Anthony has received with that jaw wired shut, and then it's loosened a little bit for each game, but it needed adjustment, and he had to come out of the lineup. And checking in for Loyola Marymount is Tom Peabody out of Santa Ana. He transferred from Rice. Team fouls are becoming a huge factor here. 5 against Loyola and none yet against UNLV. Stacey Ogman doing the job defensively. Bo Kimball is scoreless in the early going, and Ogman has chipped in 7 points offensively. Interesting story. Last night, Bo Kimball called Stacey Ogman in his hotel room and said, "Get a lot of sleep." He was joking with him, and it's obvious that Stacey Ogman thought it was pretty good advice. He looks like a well-rested warrior right now.
Kimball had 21 in the first game.
There's a 3.
And off off the bench. Lowry had 15 in the first game, so he finds UNLV to his liking. They go back to man-to-man. Showed the zone one time down.
Chris Scott has also checked in. UNLV and Anderson Hunt missing, and Kimball off with the rebound. Lowry pulls it up, hits another one. 2 quick ones in a row. And just like that, the Lions climb back in it. There's Augman. Scott comes over on it defensively, misses underneath, and now it's going the other way as Jones muscled in. That's James Jones playing because of David Butler's back problems, and they're going to try Butler right away, and Greg Anthony is coming back into the game. Number 50, Greg Anthony, returns to the lineup.
And Brent, with a sore back, as anybody knows, you don't want to sit down long. Jerry Tarkanian goes back to his Amoeba defense, which works so effectively against Ball State and also against Loyola Marymount in the first game.
Butler picked up his first foul. On the previous trip, Cianovich just put Tarkanian right in his seat.
That's the first charge Jerry has drawn since the Fresno State days. Oh, good job by UNLV defense.
Breaks out with 2 on him and comes through. That's 9 points. Now, Anderson Hunt lit the Lions up in their first meeting. He scored 26, and he breaks out strong again. Foul is called. And it's going to be UNLV ball again.
When we talk about finishers on the break, Anderson Hunt is not the size, obviously, of Stacey Augman, but for a guard, he can finish both with the jump shot and take it in on the dunk.
Tony Walker checking back in because that's 2 fouls for Terrell Lowry. Well, Johnson helping them out of the backcourt, and they quickly on 2 passes get it into Augman's hands. And he puts it away. Well scouted. They're breaking that full court press rather handily. Great Walker, and a blocking foul is going to be called on Anthony. And they quickly draw him away. The jaw wired shut and all. He has picked up 3 technical fouls. And Anthony was yanked away by his teammates, so he wouldn't say anything to the official. Anthony not agreeing with that call.
You can see how quick Walker is. He just penetrates right with a dribble. One of the quickest men with the ball in college basketball.
A human bruise, as he's known. Peabody throws it to the corner. With the miss, run down for the loose ball, and Johnson comes up with a handle. A long baseball pass. Oh, what a beautiful pass. And an intercept now by Hunt.
Everybody ran away from Steamer. No passing lane.
Cross, and Anthony moves it quickly and then gets it back. He'll take the 3.
Wasn't ready to shoot.
Into Peabody's hands. Walker gives it up. Kimball scoreless, but he couldn't get it to fall. Off now into Augman's hands, and it is Peabody. Dive for the loose ball. Fryer up with it.
Beautiful stop dribble that time by Walker.
One of the few times they pulled it back out all game long. Trying to get Kimball into that scoring column. Butler over on him.
Butler can play some D out on the perimeter as well.
Peabody dives for the loose ball. Here's Kimball again. They move it to Fryer. Fryer gets inside Augman. It's Johnson coming away with it, trapped in the corner. And a foul is going to be called.
I think it's going to be Kimball. I think it's his second.
Number 2 on Bo Kimball.
Fred, you see in practice so often teams drill with the baseball pass. You'll never see one thrown any better than the one Larry Johnson hit Stacey Augman right on the letters.
And at 12:45, UNLV is shooting 1 and 1. Loyola Marymount into early foul trouble here.
Fred, well, what you see the big players from UNLV starting to walk down the court. So the fatigue factor will definitely get to you in a game of this pace. In the first game, the score at halftime found Loyola Marymount ahead by 2. 54-52.
Knocked out of bounds by Hunt. Lions ball. Moses Scurry, number 35, into the lineup, as is Barry Young. Johnson will sit down here and take a breather.
And they go back to the zone, the amoeba defense, without Augman or Johnson in there. Kimball's got to figure out a way to get free, Brent, for some outside shots.
Young, Butler, and Scurry on that forward wall. Kimball gets in for his first field goal of the game.
Notice how he used that upper body to knock Young right out of the way.
Almost stolen by Peabody. Hunt gets it back. Now it is Young from the perimeter. Good outside shooter, so they have to respect him, and they go inside out. It'll be Butler on a quick turnaround. The running Rebs build an early lead. Peabody missing with the three. Young the rebound. Off quickly to Anthony. It's 3-on-2, and Scurry will wait for help. Lost out of bounds. Lions ball. We'll take a break here. 11:45, and UNLV, the #1 seed in the West, builds an early lead. What a tournament this has been. 7 games decided by 1 point. The record, Duke going to the 3rd straight Final Four. Arkansas for the first time since '78, and Georgia Tech for the first time ever, Billy.
Brent, interesting, we only have one #1 seed left, and that's UNLV, of course, and the ACC has knocked off the 3 #1 seeds. North Carolina, Oklahoma. Connecticut goes out by Duke, and of course, Georgia Tech took care of Michigan State.
All uphill for Loyola Marymount now. Pryor missing the 3, and UNLV off with still another rebound.
Kimball's got to be careful with those 3. He plays aggressive on both ends of the floor.
Anthony's 3.
A real key to this UNLV club is perimeter shooting. You cannot pick up that 3rd foul as Kimball, and you've got to watch him both in the offensive and the defensive end.
Lowry missing as the Vegas defense attacks the perimeter aggressively with superior size. They have held Kimball to 2 points.
But they're getting a lot of wide rebounds against the zone.
And then they break out. Anthony for a driving layup.
Smart play by Kimball. There he was. He realizes that he can't get any further foul trouble.
17 points by the Rebel guards here in the early going. And now it's Hunt for the 3. Into the hands of Peabody. Pryor. A steamer coming away with it. Lowry muscling in. That's 8 points for Lowry. And they get it back on the steal. Peabody over to Lowry.
Peabody's everywhere for the loose balls.
Lowry again, and he's keeping them in there. That's 11 points and 3 threes for the young man from Oakland.
Jerry Tarkanian ready to come back with 3 subs. Anderson Hunt has not been out. He played 39 minutes, which is incredible, against Loyola Marymount in the first game.
Curry left alone on the inside.
Kimball for 3.
Bingo. His first 3, 5 for the game.
Your normal tendency as a defensive player is to get back down court and get in the paint. When you play Loyola Marymount, you can't afford to do that. You've got to play the perimeter.
Hunt. Takes it away and then lost the handle into the corner, and Steamer touched it. UNLV ball. The matchups next Saturday. 2 ACC teams, and why not? From the beginning of this tournament until the Final Four, they have been the dominant conference. Arkansas represents the Southwest in a marvelous job turned in by Texas. They were eliminated yesterday by Nolan Richardson's team.
They're giving Stacey Augman the outside jumper. They've got to give up something to protect inside on Johnson.
That was Price, number 13, who checked in. Good block by Knight, but Augman gets it on the inside. Loyola ball. Steamer's three from NBA range. And you know, that's somewhat confusing for the players in a college game to have the two lines out there. We noticed the other night that affected them in the regional semifinals. Now here is Vice. Good ball movement to Jones from Johnson. That second pass so important.
But as a starter, Jones had 14 against him in the first game. So although he got moved out of the lineup when Butler came back, he did have good success.
Peabody cross to Jeff. And they finally find Steamer for the three. Out of bounds. And it goes to Loyola Marymount. Ball appeared to be touched last by a Lion player. Might have been about the
referee. I think the referee said it was his fault and he's going to change the call.
That's what it looked like from here, but there were a lot of bodies between me and where it went out of bounds. But we can straighten out and take a timeout here. We've got 7:48 to go in the first half. Ago, UNLV fell a victory short. They've added Larry Johnson, and here they have dominated Loyola Marymount at the early going of this regional final. Billy, they've hit 63%.
Not surprising. Loyola Marymount gives up 52% on the year. Not many teams win games like they do with that type of defensive percentage, but they don't mind giving it up if they can get their threes going. So far today, they haven't been able to.
Ball knocked out of bounds. UNLV ball.
And Brent, one of the reasons for that is the tremendous defensive pressure on the perimeter that Jerry Tarkanian has established against his club.
Shot clock is frozen, and now it goes.
Probably picked up about 3 seconds on that. They just did get it over the 10-second line.
Vice to the baseline. Snapped away by Jones. Johnson underneath, and there's a push.
Of course, if Larry Johnson just makes contact with Knight, it's a push. You're talking about 250 like a rock against about 175. Like a thin weed.
Looking for some threes, but Jeff Pryor's shot in and out, and Johnson pursues it, and here's Augman. Lead to Bucks. He missed it. He rushed it.
Great hustle by Walker to put pressure on him.
It's Knight.
You know what happened there? Jones thought he was a right-hander. He went up to block the right-handed jumper, and obviously the left-handed shot worked.
Vice missing with a three. Tapped by Augman, but over to Pryor. Now it's Walker.
Looking to go back.
Blocking foul against UNLV, and that basket, it counts.
And Brent, what I sense right now is UNLV is getting a little tired. Loyola Marymount moving the ball up and down the court the way they want to, and you can see Larry Johnson playing from the top of the key to the top of the key.
I think Lois Tarkanian was sensing it too. Did you catch that shot of her in the stand?
I don't see Lois pulling out the beads yet. That's, you know, it's Sunday, and she can work them. This is what we were talking about at the top of the show, where Paul Westhead says, it takes my club a month to get in running shape. They're there now.
That was the first Marymount free throw of the opening half. Peabody couldn't steal it from Butler, and he was in for the easy layup, which counts, and now he'll move into that free throw line.
Good call on that one, Brent. You saw the tremendous concentration by Butler as Peabody tried to come around behind him. You'll see it right here. Butler just goes up with the two hands, concentrates not on the defender, but making sure he makes the catch. All-conference performer, nation's #1 junior college player 2 years ago. sure to be an outstanding throw.
Missing at the line.
It doesn't look like his back's bothering him.
Kimball's three is on the money. That's 8 for Bo Kimble. Ogman brings it in on Steamer and then pulls it back out. Deflected and stolen by Lowry, who has done a fabulous job off the Lions bench. Now it's Kimball on the pull-up. Get at the ball, and Anthony going after the rebound. And he is fouled.
Brent, that's so tough to do what Bo Kimble did there. Going full speed, catch the ball, throwing right to you in your chest, and then stop and go straight up for the jump shot. One of the toughest shots to make in basketball. Some of the stats that Kimball has had this year, the 3 straight 50-point-plus games in a row. He and Hank Gathers scoring 40 each in a ball game this year. First time it's ever been done in college basketball.
Peabody with a bounce to Kimball. Ogman will dribble it out. And they've turned it over on the travel, so it will go to the Lions out of bounds underneath their own basket.
You notice whenever Loyola Marymount double teams, they never reach into the ball. They keep their hands really active, their feet active. Just a great double team there.
Deep to Pryor.
2-3 zone now. They're out of the amoeba.
One way to get back. 3, that was short. He tracks it down, and he was fouled. So next Saturday, our road to the Final Four preview at 5 o'clock. And then the national semifinals. One match is already set. Duke against Arkansas, and Georgia Tech will play the winner of this game. One thing to keep in mind in a game like this, when you shoot a lot of three-point shots, you get long rebounds like that one right there. And that's one thing you have to keep in mind when you play a Loyola Marymount team, Billy, is that you're going to get a lot of balls ricocheting deep off the rim. You're not going to get some of those soft rolls from the close shot.
Exactly. Takes away some of the advantage of size. And for people that are used to going for the ball with quickness, it really makes them valuable.
Pryor has been struggling at 3 points. 1 of 8. They get it back, and Kimball coming up is fouled by Johnson.
So quick to the ball.
And for the first time in this regional, Bo Kimble will be coming up to the free throw line. Inside to Kimball. Johnson fouling him, and so now once again Bo Kimble will move to the line in honor of his late teammate Hank Gathers. He'll shoot this first one left-handed. He is perfect. Circle an emotional moment in this game. It came at 5:20 first half. Hunt gives it up to Ogman on the inside. Scott is there defensively, and UNLV pulls it out, Billy.
Scott doing a great job as a safety man on that press.
Johnson gets to the glass. No answer for that big, strong fella on the inside. But there's somebody that they haven't solved at the other end. Terrell Lowry of Oakland, California, doing some job for the Lions. A reach in by Pryor, who commits that personal foul, his second.
Fred Lowry was the Oakland High School Player of the Year. A very much underrated talent. Number 2 assist man in the WCC behind his teammate Troy Walker. Just an outstanding backcourt player. Really fits the mold of what Paul Westhead wants in regards to pushing it up the court.
Now the bonus free throw. And UNLV was shooting that bonus early in the game. And Paul Westhead working on referee Jim Burrow, who was on the far side. And it's Hunt's possession for the running Rebs again.
If you have to use Butler back there to get the ball inbounds, you have a difficult time setting up the double-O post.
Anthony's three. Now it'll be Lowry, and he turns it over. It's Augman lead. Anthony breakout. And he drew a foul from Scott.
Excellent body contact that time. He knew that he had Scott on his hip. You see it right here. He takes Scott on his hip and then extends at the last minute for the shot, making it impossible to block. Great job by Anthony. You can see the extension perfectly there.
Billy, after the free throw was hit left-handed by Bo Kimball, UNLV came on strong. They did not allow that moment to turn this game around. Steamer on the inside travel.
You're exactly right, Brent. And that was a moment when you figured that they had captivated this crowd, but it didn't turn over.
The Lions have turned it over 12 times. Walker will replace Lowry, who played his heart out.
Tony Walker pushed the ball up court quickly as well.
Short, and it's a blocking foul on Steamer.
Up to that point, Steamer and Scott have been able to keep Stacey Augman from penetrating with the dribble, making him pull up for the jumper, which he didn't want to take, but Augman is so good at taking the ball to the hoop. Good defense, but just a little better offense.
A 16-point performance, make it 17 for the Olympian. Peabody has it knocked away, and he was fouled. That's 2 on Anthony.
Peabody, a high school teammate of Tommy Lewis and Leron Ellis. Of course, from Syracuse, the team that got knocked out of the tournament. Somewhat of a surprise.
Okay, Anderson Hunt. Johnson again. No solution for him in the paint off the glass. He has been a force rebounding now. 7 rebounds for him. Kimball, and it stayed in.
Some touch, almost beyond the NBA three-point line.
13 points for Bo Kimball. Augman slipped and turned it over.
Good defense by Steamer.
So we've got a break. 3.5 minutes in the first half. UNLV leading it by 14. Denver next week with our coverage starting at 5 o'clock. Duke and Arkansas will tip it off about 45 minutes later. Then in the second game, it'll be Georgia Tech against the winner here. Now, when the running Rebs arrived here this morning, Jerry Tarkanian held a closed-door meeting, and he made the following points. Number 1, no talking trash. We are out here to play basketball. Number 2, I'm going to the Final Four. You guys can either join me or watch it on television. It's your choice. We worked hard all year. Let's not let this one get away. And despite the emotion in the crowd, remember to come hard after these guys all game long. They don't quit. That was the immediate message that Tarkanian handed out when I was inside their locker room.
And you can see that stat, Brent. Only Claire B leads Jerry Tarkanian in winning percentage all time in the history of college basketball coaching.
Working from the perimeter now, and UNLV had the lead all game long.
Really sagging in now. Jump shot should be available.
There's Johnson. A man's man.
Can't stop it.
Kimball has to give it up. Short. Vegas ball again. Stolen by Kimball in the corner, and then Johnson retrieves it for the Rebels. Up the court to Hunt. Augman's on his left. Beautiful. 2.5 minutes. Kimball. Rolled out, and Butler going for the rebound was fouled by Walker.
And Brent, going back to the point you made, after Bo Kimball hit that left-handed free throw, it has been all UNLV. Amazing, this emotional run on their part to show that they could handle anything that Loyola Marymount could put on it, particularly when you figure they'd be tired.
Bo Kimball made it 41-35.
Down 6.
And it looked like that might provide the emotional spark in this game.
And they've outscored them by 12 points since that point. You notice what Tarkin's doing here. He's not putting fellas on the foul line. He wants all his fellas to do two things. Number one, rest by already being back. And number two, be in a position to guard defensively against somebody who wants to push it up the court quickly.
And Tarkanian wants a timeout.
Can't get it unless they make the shot.
I think he wanted it before that second free throw. And he'll take it if they hit a successful basket here. Pryor takes the game inside. And it's going to go to Loyola Marymount. I guess the ball hit too high on that glass backboard. You know, Billy, one of the things that you were telling me, you love the clock situation here in the Oakland Coliseum, where you've got the game clock and the shot clock directly above the glass backboard here so that the players never lose contact. You said that's a problem in some arenas.
It really is. I think it's a great move. And also the red light is up there so that the officials can see it well when we get down to the buzzer time, with so many games, as we know, 23 have ended by less than 3 points in this tournament.
Another great defensive play. Now Tarkanian gets his timeout. Johnson knocks the ball out of bounds, so we've got a dead ball situation, and here come UNLV cheerleaders. Through the years about the program at UNLV, but I go back to what Jerry Tarkanian gave that city, and it was something to rally behind. I think that somewhat it's overlooked by everyone. Focuses in on some of the problems that they have had through the years down there, but this is really a rallying point for an entire city. And when we're in UNLV, what they want to do most of all is climb the mountain. Tarkanian is in familiar territory here in the West. There's no question about that. Sweet 16 8 times, and he's made it 3 times into the Final 8. And he has gone to the Final 4 twice. Now, he has not yet won a national championship. And this is what Jerry Tarkanian wants more than anything in the world. The man's entire life is basketball. Let me give you an anecdote. Harry Belafonte had some coveralls on over at a hotel once, and Jerry Tarkanian was introduced to him, and he actually thought that Harry was one of the janitors of the hotel. The man doesn't live anything but basketball. 2 minutes to go here in the first half, and Tarkanian's running Rebs have things under control, even though Loyola stormed back. Kimball on the turnaround. Ooh, Johnson went down hard to the floor, and then wrestling with the ball, a held ball situation. And it's UNLV possession, but he took a nasty fall, Billy.
He really did. He came down almost in a scissors split. UNLV officials are going to allow him to stay down there on the floor till he gets himself organized, and obviously you're going to see when he comes down here. This was quite a spill for a guy 250. Look at those great hands that he has. Makes the catch while laying on the floor.
That's his first field goal of the game. Anthony gets it back to Butler. The big man has to help out. Johnson under pressure. Hunt will dribble it up.
Good job by Greg Anthony. Get his club back in sync. Try to get the ball down low now. The two people, Butler and Johnson, the Loyola Marymount has not been able to play with. Smart move here by Jerry Tarkanian. He's one of the few teams in America that could be prepared for Loyola Marymount in only one day because he doesn't have to alter that much of his own style.
Butler at the shot clock. Ogman on the inside with a putback. Butler just did get it off. And then you get a fresh 45 as soon as you released it. Stolen now by Ogman, who's played like an Olympian here in the first half.
Beautiful job by Stacey Ogman. He used his shoulder to keep Steamer pushed away and then finished again.
He's outscored Bo Kimball 23-16. Kimball's third three of the game. And now it's Ogman's turn. Lights out for Ogman. And Kimball objecting to how he's defended. And Anthony with a few words for him after he pulled away from that situation.
That was a great help on defense. Kimball probably could have got that shot off against Anthony, but Johnson came over to help out.
Billy, you said to keep an eye on one stat, and that's the shooting percentage. UNLV hitting better than 60% in this game, and Loyola only 39%.
They can still live with those percentages, Brent, but they have got to figure out a way to stop the low post play. 33 from 3 is the same as 50 from 2. Playing against the zone again. Jerry Tarkanian's played a lot of zone in his first half.
Lowry. Run down by Butler. That's the end of the first half. And for UNLV, Jerry Tarkanian's running Rebs. 20 minutes to Denver. And CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word for your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final Game is sponsored by the U.S. Army, where you get an edge on life. Be all you can be. UPS, fast, efficient service to 175 countries and territories worldwide. And by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.
This is the shop of Samsat Bazaar, a thriving establishment on the outskirts of Bangkok. Unlike other...
At the West Regional Final, UNLV leads by 20. That's the most points scored in one half this year by the running Rebels. Stacey Ogman has 25 at the intermission. As we bring you back across the coast to our New York studios, Jim Nance along with Mike Francesa. Mike, what a half of basketball by UNLV.
They couldn't play much better. They beat them on the break, beat them in the low post. Their perimeter defense was excellent. They were plus in turnovers. They did everything right in the first half, and it shows on the scoreboard.
Georgia Tech is going to its first Final Four with its victory today in the Southeast Regional Final. Lethal Weapon 3 had 89 of the Yellow Jackets' 93 points. Dennis Scott with 40, Kenny Anderson with 30, Brian Oliver with 19, and Georgia Tech's headed to Denver. Now, in that game, Willie Burton had a hot hand as well for the Golden Gophers. The closing seconds, he nails a 3. He had 35 for the game. And that cut the lead to 2. Kenny Anderson was put on the free throw line to shoot a 1-and-1. 2-point lead, 6 seconds to go. He missed. And here come the Golden Gophers. How many times in this tournament have we seen someone hit the game winner right here in this same situation? Kevin Lynch fired. That would have won it. It was a 3. It came up short. And a misty-eyed Bobby Crimmins going to the Final Four.
It was a great basketball game. Minnesota's a very physical team, but these guys hung in there. Dennis was shooting prime with the bad ankle. Kenny gave us the big 3, but Dennis Scott was sensational. Great basketball game. I'm just really proud.
We may not get here again at Minnesota, but I can say this. If I can coach a group of guys like the Melvin Newbers on my left and the Willie Burtons and lose all 28 games, I would really be happy and honored to be able to do that.
Tell you, Mike, there's one stat that really stares at you after this game. Georgia Tech shot 35 free throws, Minnesota 11.
Anytime you look at the stat sheet and you're a head coach, you say, wait a second, 35-11, they're physical, and Minnesota is a very physical team, but I didn't see a bad officiating in this game, Jim. I thought that Georgia Tech went to the basket a lot and got fouled. I didn't think they really took the worst of it in this game.
All right, it was a 2-point final for Georgia Tech. That was the 17th game of this tournament to be decided by 1 or 2 points. Lynn Elmore took a look at one of the contributing causes to all this closeness.
For almost a century, college basketball was a game grounded in fundamentals. The closer in the shot, the better. Now that basic tenet of the game is being challenged.
There was a time in college basketball where the purpose was to get the ball inside, to the big guys. Then usually the taller, stronger, more athletic teams prevailed. But with the introduction of the three-point shot, things have changed. The three-pointer has now become the signature of college basketball in the 90s.
The three-point shot has taken the game out of the hands of the coaches and put it in the hands of the players because they all think they can shoot it. They all want to shoot it. They all enjoy it and shoot it. You see guys backing up shooting it.
The three-pointer has revolutionized the college game.
Pryor out of the corner.
With a magic line at only 19 feet 9 inches, the three-pointer has been used with increasing frequency per game during each of its 4 years. Defenses have caught on, and so the success rate for three-pointers has declined annually.
I think it's a big psychological thing when guys hit a three-pointer, so usually when I'm playing against an offensive player, I try to keep them from shooting the three-pointers, just to keep them, not so much as the 3 points, but to keep them from getting that, emotional charge.
Unable to get inside.
Oh, Newby.
It surpassed my fondest expectation. It is certainly a factor in bringing more excitement, more charisma into our game.
It'll be Davis out on fire, and he's got it.
There's nothing to a 20-point lead anymore. You've got to play the game from the time the tip-off is started till the buzzer sounds to end the basketball game.
And here's David Young with a three-point basket.
There's so many more decisions to be made. I think because of the three-point shot, it gives the fans more things to second-guess, and also the media. And turn for coaches, I think it's given us more options. And I think anytime you have more options, it makes the game more exciting.
Still, no matter how you coach it, the three-point weapon has made a major impact on the style and strategy of the college game. Although few favor a return to the old days, there is some serious sentiment towards lessening the impact of the play.
I like the three-point shot, but it is way too close. My thinking is high school's 19-9, pros 23-9. Wouldn't it be natural, Lynn, to see a 21-9 distance for Division I men's college basketball?
You know, Lenny always did have that good outside shot for a big man. What about it, Mike? I know it's been debated for a long time, the last couple of years.
I say leave it where it is right now, Jim. The reason you have all these close games is no lead is safe anymore. It's a great equalizer, the three-point shot. Leave it where it is. The games can't be any more competitive than they are right now, and that's why teams can come from behind. Loyola's going to have to shoot a lot of them in the second half.
You know, Tech came back from 12 down today. Dennis Scott had 7 of 12 threes.
Well, Dennis Scott doesn't matter where he shoots it from. He can shoot it from 25, 28, 29 feet out.
I told you, it reminds me of Glenn Rice. All right, let's take a look at the brackets now for Denver. The national semifinals, one game Duke against Arkansas. And Georgia Tech awaits the winner of the UNLV Loyola Marymount game. Now, let's set the lineup for you as well for next week. Next Saturday, we'll be at McNichols Arena in Denver, site of the Final Four. At 5 o'clock, we'll have our pregame show, and then the first game tips at 5:43 Eastern. The first game will be Arkansas against Duke. 1/2 hour after the conclusion of that game, Georgia Tech against the winner of the UNLV Marymount contest. Next Sunday, the women's championship game from Knoxville. That'll start at 1:30 Eastern time. And then on Monday night, April the 2nd, the men's championship game from Denver, Colorado. We'll get you back to Oakland as we continue on the road to the Final Four right after this.
West, it has been a shark attack. Jerry Tarkanian and the Running Rebs dominating Loyola Marymount by 20 points today. Billy Packer, you go back to the beginning of this game.
Well, Brent, one of the things that UNLV has not been doing competently in this tournament is playing the perimeter game with the outside shot. Their guards have been very shaky, but not in this game at all. I mean, they've hit the threes right off the bat. They're playing extremely well on both ends of the floor. So I think Jerry Tarkanian now has the full complement, making him, in my opinion, the best team in college basketball right now. At least at halftime they are.
All right, well, here are some of the numbers as to why Billy puts them in such rarefied air. Defensively, limiting Loyola Marymount to 40%. Front court scoring, they've got thoroughbreds up front. And then turnovers and points off of those turnovers. It has been UNLV which has forced the pace of this game. Stacey Augman with a monster here in the first half. And our coverage of this West Regional Final will continue after this message and a word for your local station.
What's it take to win in college basketball? What's it take to win in 7-Up's college basketball championship game? That hard work could win you a limited edition Ford Mustang or a chance at prizes worth $20 million. So start practicing. 1 in 12 are winners.
Gillette announces a razor that can sense the individual needs of your face.
See the right one. And by today's Chevrolet, who invites you to see why nobody's winning like the heartbeat of America.
Well, only one invitation to Denver still available, as Duke, Arkansas, and Georgia Tech all have qualified for next Saturday's Final Four. And here, UNLV with a 20-point lead at halftime of the West Regional Final, hoping to be the team that takes on the amazing wizard Kenny Anderson and the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech next Saturday afternoon. Loyola will start the game with the ball, start the half with the ball out of bounds.
Mark never looks any different, whether he's up 20 or struggling.
Walker, Steamer, Kimball, Flyer, and Knight
start out in the zone. Tony Walker's got to get something penetrating down inside.
Kimball 3 opens the second half. The other end it is Hunt. Rebound Steamer. Off to Kimball. 2 in a row for both Kimball to start the second half. He knocks 6 off that 20-point lead.
Freddie just glides out there with that jump shot. Never looks like he's in a hurry.
He's 6 of 6 from 3-point range in this game so far. Augman, Anthony, Hunt, Butler, and Johnson.
Kimball's on Anthony. Is on Stacey Augman. He is not worried about it. Which is unusual with Stacey having 25 points in the first half. But Bo is trying to help out on Larry Johnson.
Butler had that field. Kimball should keep it out of 3-point range. Now it's
too close.
Hunt and Johnson. Defensively, Knight came in quickly to help out. Walker regains control, and now it's Kimball firing, and that's his first miss from 3-point range. And Butler, who celebrates every rebound, and it's an offensive foul on Butler.
Chris Knight down. Kimball on that long jumper. Great hands again by Johnson. Knight stays right with him and then gets bowled over.
And they are tending tonight at the free throw line. In watching Larry Johnson and Per Steamer go at it on the glass, if we think back to the regional semifinals, Steamer was able to pull rebounds away from Alabama. He has not been able to accomplish that against Johnson.
I would agree, Brett, because you're talking about one of the strongest pair of hands and one of the softest pair of hands I've ever seen on a player of his age. And normally a guy who has hands of that strong, he has a hard time catching the ball.
Now with Knight sitting down, and he goes at 6'9", Tom Peabody comes in at 6'3".
Kimball snaps off a deuce. Expect Jerry Tarkanian go back to some man-to-man. Needs a little bit more pressure on Bo Kimball.
He has one, too, in Ogman, who can be the answer. Here's Hunt. Firing, and Butler coming in. Fouled Peabody on the rebound. Number 3 on Butler.
Peabody giving up about 4 or 5 inches on that play and still gets in position to rebound.
A positive start for the Lions here in the second half.
Playing 2-3 zone, not the amoeba.
Bad pass. Ogman comes up with it. Johnson got the roll. 10 points for Larry Johnson. Kimball was tripped. They called traveling.
Got his feet tied up. Everybody expects him to pull up for the jumper. He can put it into overdrive when he puts that ball on the floor. Much quicker than he looks.
Ogman goes down. No traveling.
Notice Bo Kimball playing Stacey Ogman. Kind of lets him go so he can help out on Larry Johnson.
Fryer.
That could be number 4 on Butler.
It is number 4.
Again, the long rebound, Brent, that you see so often in this type of game. Jerry Tarkanian will have to put Butler down, bring Scurry back in right now. But it's tough for those big fellas to get over there and take advantage of the long rebound.
3 fouls on Butler here in the early going in the second half. And Moses Scurry checks in. Now, in the first half, it was Loyola Marymount getting into early foul trouble. Here in the second half, 3 team fouls against Vegas and none against Loyola as Fryer hit the 3-point shot.
He was only 3 for 14 in the first half and then burned it up in this tournament. Now it looks like he's getting that stroke back.
Ogman coming into the paint, 27 points, first field goal of the second half. Deflected to Fryer, back to Lowry, snaps it off to Kimball, who was not expecting the pass. And he is fouled as he comes up with the shot. Ogman caught him in the facial area, and Kimball is shaken up.
We saw Lindsey Howell, the great player from Arkansas, one of the outstanding role players in college basketball, get in the eye yesterday. Same type of play here. Kimball does the smart thing, puts the ball up as if he was in the shooting motion, and sent him to the line with 2.
You know, that was Hunt on that replay, who raked a hand across his face, and it certainly.
Oh, he was in. Yeah, they're going to have him too. And Brent, I go back to Arkansas playing UNLV on CBS earlier this year, and they looked then like a Final Four team. Nolan Richardson's club may be blessed with some of the finest sophomores in the country. They proved they could play that night on the road.
And Lindsey Howell had a blackened eye yesterday and stepped to the line and hit a couple of big free throws. Now it is Bo Kimball, and how to apologize to him.
Well, Ron Hury stepped up, had to come off the bench cold and hit those big free throws yesterday. A tremendous accomplishment for a young man that had some problems off the court prior to this year.
Both of them now. He has 26 for the game. Here comes the press. Johnson has been very slick at helping out. Then they get it into Ogman's hands, and he comes in the paint for 29. They go the distance against that full court press. Lowry goes all the way. Ogman off of the rebound. Hunt on the breakout.
Anderson Hunt will just take that ball to anybody. The Steamer not really a shot blocker, more of a position defender, but still, he went right by him. Bad pass.
Intercepted Anthony. Here's Hunt again. Has Scurry on his right. Scurry misses, and it's Kimball. Drives with that shoulder. Wanted Steamer. Shows good hands and stayed with it. Long pass now. So there goes the human bruise with a dive, and it was Anderson coming up with the field goal.
I realize that Scurry's having the big game, the huge game, But Billy Anderson Hunt's the guy setting the stage for UNLV, hitting those jumpers.
Here's our man, Tom Peabody.
Dives, gives you every effort you could ask from a player. Safe at second.
Not far from Ricky Henderson. Demonstrates that slide into second base. We're only a long foul ball away from the Oakland A's arena. We'll be right back. Well, the women's championship out of Knoxville, Tennessee next Sunday. In the semifinals, it'll be Stanford against Virginia and Louisiana Tech taking on Auburn. And here in the San Francisco Bay Area, they're very excited about that performance by the Stanford women. Here it is, UNLV, which has led it all the way, coming up with the ball and missing a shot, and it is Bo Kimball who has scored 26. This is Fryer, and he hits another 3, and now he has 16.
You know, Brett, Kimball being the nation's leading scorer, very unselfish player. And he'll hit ahead. He'll hit that first 3-man.
Inside. Still no answer for that little turnaround from the low blocks by the Loyola Marymount defense, which is giving up so much bulk and size.
Well, we haven't seen many people around the college game have an answer for Larry Johnson in the low block. He's tough.
Well, Ball State held him scoreless for 18 minutes the other night. And Kimball tips another 3. He's only missed 1 here today. He scored 29 points. He's hit 7 from three-point land. Hunt says, I can do that.
When that part of the UNLV game continues to hit on all cylinders, they are so tough to handle because it really extends the defense.
Fire. Got the high bounce. 21. Fire.
When I go back to the Arkansas Little Rock game in the opener for UNLV, the game was maybe too easy for an opener. They kind of lost their concentration. They obviously have it back in this game.
Loyola Marymount has whittled 6 points off that 20-point halftime deficit. 14 minutes to go about.
Problem here, we're not seeing that aggressive defense by Loyola Marymount when Larry Johnson getting a little rest now.
Ogman picking up the loose ball, and now he has scored 31 points this afternoon. Lowry, great block by Hunt. Came from nowhere. Knocked that one down. The other way, and he goes down, and how's that jaw?
Well, he used his hands to break his ball instead of his chin. I'm sure Greg learned his lesson. You'll see this block. Can Anderson Hunt get off the floor in a hurry? Sensational timing. Go down the other end. Scott trying to draw the charge. I'll be honest with you, I thought he had pretty good position. I was surprised Anthony didn't pull up.
A magnificent performance here today by the UNLV guards.
Subtle little change by Jerry Tarkanian again, taking everybody off the foul line so his guys can rest back on the other end of the floor.
Lowry with the fake, fires the 3, push, and it's Johnson underneath. And Loyola Marymount picks up the foul.
Just too strong, Brent. Knight was in there with him, had decent body, but he just got him out of the way.
That's 11 rebounds for Johnson in this one. Traveling, no basket.
But in the first meeting, Larry Johnson had 16 rebounds, and he didn't have Butler to help him.
Kimball. Good driving move that time, and now he scored 31 points. UNLV ball out of bounds.
I get the feeling now that the run that we normally see from Loyola Marymount has been worn down. The fact that there's just so much power inside, and UNLV used to this kind of 100-point tempo is not being effective.
Billy, certainly in human terms, the Hank Gathers loss was an enormous tragedy for everyone associated with this game. From a basketball standpoint here today, this kind of a game where they really miss their fallen leader. Obviously, you don't talk about someone who's dying in terms of basketball, but Hank Gathers was the kind of player who stood up and he'd hit the glass and he would really be able to help out.
Well, obviously, would have given him strength inside, where Steamer could have been the second man instead of the first.
The three, and that is 19 points for Anderson Hunt out of Detroit, Michigan. Turn it over, and here's Hunt. Lost the dribble. Kimball's got it back. Hunt will go to him. 33 now for Kimball. Kimball doesn't quit, does he? And he committed the personal foul. Not happy with it. That's number 3. He had 2 early. And he's gone a long time without number 3. And when you come back, Jeff Fryer will have checked into the game, and we'll return shortly. For Billy Packer, I'm Brad Muchberger, and we welcome all of you to the Final Four. Next Saturday in Denver, our pregame activities will begin at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. And then the first game, Duke, Arkansas, about 45 minutes after that. Billy, how do you look at that showdown?
Well, I'll tell you, both teams blessed with outstanding talent, or they wouldn't even be there. I'm interested to see Mayberry-Hurley match up. That'll be outstanding. Day and Henderson, 2 players playing extremely well. And I think it'll be also important is how is Ricky's leg? I mean, is he going to be 100%? Because they'll certainly need his athleticism against an Arkansas club to play against a Lindsey Howell.
Kimball misfiring and Johnson off with a rebound. UNLV trying to advance. They would play Georgia Tech in the second game as Walker commits the foul. You know, with Stanovich out here for the Running Reds, when you think about it, we've got 11:45 to go, and Loyola Marymount has played its heart out here in the second half, and yet they look at that scoreboard and they have not picked up a point. They find themselves still down by 20, and it is starting to wear on. Stanovich up into the corner, and Hunt, who had a huge afternoon, misfiring. Steamer is off with the ball. Offensive foul on Bo Kimball, number 4.
Brent, it's really not so much what Loyola Marymount is not doing, it's what Vegas is doing. Playing almost the perfect basketball game on both ends of the floor. They got the perimeter shooting going well. Safety Augment finishing off on the break. Johnson just too strong inside.
Augment would have had a driving attempt that time, except the pass was a little bit too far out in front of him. Stanovich now running the floor. Jones, 34, out here with Augment. Johnson still out there, and Hunt handling the ball. So several of the regulars, notably Anthony, being rested.
They should not try to feed Johnson with Augment because Kimball's inside. That's the man to feed him with.
So Anderson Hunt hits another 3 for the game. That's his 4th.
Bo's trying to do too much right now. He sees the game and his college career kind of slip on here.
Fryer, Peabody goes up, and somehow Jeff Fryer comes away with it. Kimball, short, long rebound, and it's Hunt coming out. Johnson's on his left.
On Bo Kimball, and Brent, he started to get frustrated the other night, and it's continuing. And you know, in fairness to Bo, there has been so much pressure on him over the last week in regard to media attention, questions to be asked, and you know it has taken away some of his concentration. Very frustrated now. Both this man took a team to a world championship and hoped to go to a Final Four. But Bo Kimball, the nation's leading scorer. Colorado. And a beautiful pass, and of course that's 2-on-1 breaking Vegas style. We don't look for the three-point shot when you've got a chance to finish off with Larry Johnson or Stacey Augmon. As for Anderson Hunt, 22 points, 12 assists. And just think of it, he started the NCAA tournament this year 1 for 13 in his outside shooting.
Larry Johnson grew up in Tyler, Texas, as Hunt shoots the technical, which was called on base under the first. You might remember another athlete out of Tyler, Texas, a fellow by the name of Earl Campbell.
Might have had a little bigger thighs than Larry Johnson, but not much bigger upstairs.
Came out of junior college, and his first year there, he was selected as the newcomer of the year in college basketball, period.
Obviously a first-team All-American selection.
First consensus All-American in the history of Las Vegas, and he has showed you why all season long. Just a fine player.
Oh, Westhead deciding to play tough perimeter defense. What got him over the hump against Alabama the other night. There's been too many Warriors against today.
Just inside of 10 minutes, and UNLV has scored 102 points already. Fire. Hit by Peabody fouling him.
Well, there's a case on both ends. Just not enough in regard to size. Peabody was posted up down inside by Johnson just before that play, and then he has to go down on the defensive end. He's just not big enough, strong enough, or quick enough to handle Stacey Augmon.
UNLV shooting the bonus now for the rest of the way. There is the critical difference on the inside. Loyola Marymount just did not have the ball to match up. And so I'm sure that there are some folks who know an awful lot about basketball who are saying, and you couldn't disagree today, that Jerry Tarkanian would never lose to a system like this with Loyola Marymount. I think the key thing to remember is I'm not sure that Loyola Marymount would have gotten nearly this far without this system. Yeah, it's overmatched here today. But if I was a young high school coach, Billy, would you think about this?
Oh, I think it is a game of the future for a lot of people to play. And when you really think about it, the guy that really started it on the college level in the Final Four was Jerry Tarkanian back in '77 with that great team he had.
Hunt continues to blaze away.
Unfortunately, in '77 for him, there was no three-point shot or shot clock. North Carolina beat him using the four corners a little bit.
Fire missing. Johnson is off, and here comes Hunt again. 27 points for Anderson Hunt, who was in a slump, somebody said. Boy, did he break out.
Well, if you have to think about this game from the outset, it was Anderson Hunt that showed he was going to have a big game with his jumpers from the outside right at the beginning. And this is the second time today that I can remember, maybe the third, where he has taken it all the way to dunk one on the fast break. And remember the great block he had on the defensive end against Lowry.
With Billy Packer, I'm Brad Musburger. A nice round of applause for Larry Johnson, who has been one of the Warriors here this afternoon in the West Regional Final in Oakland, California, and UNLV now closing in on that final spot open at the big party. It'll be Duke and Arkansas in game one, followed by Georgia Tech against the winner of this game. And in all likelihood now, barring a miracle, it will be UNLV. 18 points and 15 rebounds for Johnson, who sat down. Augmon on the pull-up. Moses Scurry coming back with two more. That's his second field goal. Kimball has it swatted away by Scurry, and now it's Augmon racing Peabody.
Oh, held it back. Beautiful.
Scurry with an offensive rebound and a putback.
You can see Scurry is fresh. Everybody else down a notch.
And Lowry, who's had a fine game, especially in the first half. That's 18 points for Lowry.
Here, Brent, looking ahead a little bit. Duke, 3 straight years to the Final Four. Nowhere near the record. UCLA, 10 straight years to the Final Four. Cincinnati in that great run they had back in the early 60s, went 5 in a row. But in this day and age, tough to do. They even come back 2 years in a row.
Foul is against Peabody. You know, there's one person, in fact, there are two across the way we certainly want to thank for a lot of help. A couple members of the NCAA basketball committee who have great basketball and in one case track reputations of their own. Dave Maggart, the athletic director over at the University of California, directly across from me, a member of the committee who helped organize this regional final. Seated next to Gary Cunningham over there, who is the former head basketball coach down at UCLA, and coming in here to the Oakland Coliseum. Billy, this would be a fine sight for some future regional finals. They do a good job.
I would agree. You know, Gary Cunningham was on the first club that John Wooden took to a Final Four way back in 1962. Who would have ever dreamed at that point that Coach Wooden would take so many more?
$7:45 for the game. Turn it over. Lead to Hunt. Back now to Young, who's coming down, and they turned it over on the travel.
Well, they can sense the victory here, and Paul Westhead said if Larry Johnson gets 40, he'll have a tired 40. Fortunately for Jerry Tarkanian, that wasn't necessary because of the outstanding play of his guard.
Misfiring. And the foul is going to go against Vegas on the inside that time.
John O'Connell putting it back up, getting a little bit of playing time here.
As Johnson comes back in, one of the things we can start speculating about, and if he reads the copy, do you think will be written on this subject, the altitude that we'll be playing at. And of course, everyone will say, doesn't bother you, doesn't affect you, we'll go in, we'll play our game, a lot in the mind. But if you talk to many of the professional athletes, Billy, who've come through there, it is real.
Well, I talked to Dean Smith about it. He took his club up in for 2 quick games this year, and he said if you don't have time to get acclimated, it really affects you, and obviously it affected him in one game, particularly losing to Colorado State. And now Loyola Marymount's got to take a lot of chances, and in doing so, they leave themselves open for some easy baskets inside. There's one.
So Johnson with 20 points for the day and a 116-80 lead and 7 minutes to go here against the Lions.
You know, but I don't think I've ever seen Larry Johnson fumble a pass that was thrown anywhere near being catchable. He just has great hands. Maybe the best part of his game.
Such a great rebounder, Billy, and right now Vegas has 46 rebounds, Loyola Marymount 21. Knight couldn't get a grasp on it, and Johnson with the outlet to Hunt it. 3-on-1. Butler over to Anthony.
Fred, you're talking about rebounds. In the first game they played each other, rebounds were almost even, almost exactly even.
Kimball coming away. Still another rebound for Johnson.
Nice pass.
Kicked out. UNLV ball at the 6:21 mark.
What Jerry Tarkanian has to do now is, just like in that Arkansas Little Rock, he doesn't want to say, hey, this game is over, but he wants to keep the concentration level high. They really peaked for this game, and Lois even starting to back off a little bit.
Johnson, Hunt, Butler with 4 fouls, and Young on the floor right now for Jerry Tarkanian, who is bringing some seconds down on the clock.
Setting up a one-on-one situation.
Has this one in hand. Interesting, you mentioned that team back in the 70s, Billy. one of Jerry Tarkanian's. He set the scoring record for an average, and it wasn't broken until Loyola did it last year, and then they rebroke it this year, averaging 125 points a game, and it doesn't look like they're going to get their average here today, and Alabama held them under that, too, with the foul as against Anthony.
Well, you know, one of the marks that they got being the running Rebs was because of the high scoring. But what made that team so great, and what Jerry never got credit for until recent years, is the fact that they played great pressure defense. I think he's one of the great individual man-to-man defensive coaches in the country. And without question, and I've said this before, when you go to his practices, they drill harder on individual defense with drills than anybody in the United States. Butler. That karate scream, Butler. Curry uses it as well. Spreading things out, using the clock. The object is to win the game. So Clark's taking a page out of the Al McGuire philosophy. Forget about being pretty at this point. Just win the game and go home.
Three and air ball.
That was a lack of concentration.
He traveled.
And he may be coming out. Jerry wants them to remember how they played this game to get the lead, not how they're playing in the last few minutes.
Question about Big Larry Johnson, Billy. Do you think he eats plenty of broccoli?
I gave you that one the other night. I don't know, but whatever it is, he's a strong young fella. You were talking about his boxing career, seeing if we could get some films on him when he was a youngster. I want to see some of the other guys.
Vianovich check into the game. Stolen by Knight.
Brett, in the first meeting between these two teams, to tell you how things have changed, Knight did not score, did not have anything statistically on the board. I think he's going to be a fine young player. Showed some real talent there with a roundhouse dunk. Got to put some weight on. Walker. Kimball. Good steal by Tony Walker.
Now he's at 35, the nation's scoring leader.
Have to go back to Frank Selby and Darrell Floyd at Furman. The last guys back-to-back from the same school to win a national scoring championship.
So next Saturday, 5 Eastern time, and then the Final Four. First game, Arkansas against Duke, followed by Georgia Tech against, in all likelihood, UNLV. The Final Four next weekend will be coming your way from McNichols Arena in Denver, Colorado. We look forward to that, and we hope you'll join us. We'll be right back here. There's a heartwarming story there on your left. That is of Valerie Pita. And so many of you remember her from her days as a cheerleader for UNLV, and she's been battling cancer as she was her senior year at Las Vegas, undergoing treatment. She's the honorary coach of the Runnin' Rebs, and it's always a delight to see her. She's got just an unsinkable spirit about her, and the reason why we're shooting this is a technical on the bench, Billy, is that?
On Paul Westhead. But this is the foul that was committed earlier.
Paul Westhead.
Well, this is a foul that was committed earlier.
Oh, I see.
Just a one-on-one.
I was confused. I didn't realize that they were getting ready to shoot up at the other line. That's why they had pulled them off.
Travis Bice going to go to the line. You know, Brent, is a little trivia. I talked about Darrell Floyd and Frank Selby of Furman being the last guys before Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball won national scoring titles. It's interesting looking back. There are only 3 schools in the United States that have had 2 men lead the nation in scoring. The other school besides Furman and now Loyola Marymount was South Carolina, with Grady Wallace and Zam Frederick in the history of the game. Boy, I give Fry a lot of credit. Look at the pressure they're putting here. Even though they're down and out, they're not quitting at all.
That was Jones. The only starter on the floor for UNLV is Butler right now. Kimball gets it back. Well, he's got some shot.
He is not only a shooter, he's a scorer. He can do both. Not many can.
37 points for both. Tapped in by Knight. I'll give you some point totals for some of those starters who are off the floor for UNLV. Ogman with 33 and 11 rebounds. Hunt with 27 and 13 assists. Johnson with 20 points and 18 rebounds. Anthony with 19 points and 8 assists. So UNLV came up huge here in this regional final. Their finest performance of the NCAA tournament. Jeff Fryer nailed down a 3 and it's 21 points for Fryer.
And Brett, you know what's so interesting? Ball State, and the way the tournament was going, actually could have beaten that club at the buzzer.
We're back to that last play of the game. They didn't get off a good shot. They were down by 2.
Remember, McCurdy came out so high on the wing, but the way this tournament's been going, with so many games, 23 now decided by 3 points or less. This game obviously not typical.
Well, Paul Westhead lived all season by the blowout, and he's going to die by it here this afternoon, apparently. But he's done a great job. And all the Loyola Marymount fans and I think basketball fans everywhere have just got to be so proud of what the Lions have accomplished here. When you consider all the pressure that they have been under ever since March 4th.
Well, they went almost 10 days without playing any basketball games at all, which is a long layoff to go into a tournament like this.
Anthony coming back for the layup. Inside of 3 minutes to go. 1:25 now. The total for UNLV. They break out a 3-on-1.
Park want to finish up strong. He's got his original starting lineup back in the game. Wants them to get that intensity level back and take it on to Denver.
Well, tonight on CBS, it'll be 60 Minutes. Mike Wallace will take a look at a spy for the KGB who received $1 million. That's going to be followed by Murder, She Wrote and the CBS miniseries Common Ground. All that coming up tonight on CBS.
And as the fans can see, something Jerry Tarkanian instituted for this game, put his shooter on the line, took everybody back on defense so they could conserve energy and not to be involved in an up-and-down battle. The master stroke here. But Jerry got to the college level by coaching in the junior college ranks, as everybody knows. And think of his record in those 7 years. 212 wins, 26 losses.
3 more for Kimball. That's 40 points for Bo Kimball.
So that's his 8th 40-point game of the year.
Foul against UNLV here with 2:19 to go. 125-96, and Scott checking back into the game.
Frank, you documented it so well the other day, but it's not that Bo hasn't been without adversity in his collegiate career with the 2 severe leg injuries that he had.
Another thing about Bo Kimball is how he got his nickname. David Butler, who fouled out after scoring 9 points, goes over to a nice ovation. A lot of Rebel fans here in Oakland. In fact, there were not enough available tickets for all the folks who wanted them, and I imagine we'll have the same rush in Denver for followers of all 4 schools. So here's Bo Kimball, nicknamed after Bo Diddley by his grandmother, who said that as a youngster, Bo got on your nerves, just like Diddley did if you don't like rock and roll. If you were a defender and he lit you up for 40 or 50, he'd get on your nerves a little bit, too.
Park almost in a practice environment here, wanting his club really sharp to head to Denver. That's why he put these fellas back in as a starting unit. satisfied that they ended this game the way he wants, their mental edge, and he's going to take out the unit in its entirety. When we talked about the Duke matchup, what do you think, Georgia Tech?
I think it's going to be a classic. I can't wait to see Kenny Anderson come up against this UNLV defense, and then Dennis Scott out on the wing. He's had such a remarkable year. Stacey Ogman undoubtedly will be assigned to him. Anderson will come down against Anthony. I think it's going to be some of the great matchups that we have seen, Billy, this year. And I think on the inside will be the big question for the Rams stretch. Lead now to Hunt.
Well, as we saw, starting off with 64 teams, only one #1 seed is going to work their way to Denver.
And that's UNLV. But let's think about it, folks. Think about all the upsets that we've had, all the great moments in this tournament. But then look how the cream always comes to the top at the end. Of those teams that were ranked in the 16 seed, no one outside that 16 has been invited to the big party. There's 3s and 4s, yes. Vegas has won 1, and his son is delighted.
Well, I think that Danny, who really is a good student of the game as well in that family, and still the leading assist man in the history of UNLV basketball, expected a much tougher contest here today.
The kids from Ball State have got to be saying to themselves, it could have been us. And, you know, I think everybody underrated that team even now in the way they played here.
Well, one of the things that they had that nobody else had that made Vegas so far was 2 interior players that could put the hurt on Larry Johnson and David Butler.
Hunt with 30 points and 13 assists.
But, Brent, you know what they also had in that game? A UNLV team that was a little shy from the perimeter. They were not that today.
Out of bounds. Continuing to fire away. Loose ball on the floor. You think the game was tied the way those bodies are flying out there with a minute to go, 128-98. I guess that's as ridiculous as anything that we've seen. The spirit that all 64 schools brought into this NCAA tournament. And you know, there's one big point to make about Bo Kimball as he leaves his final college game and this team. And that point is that not all your dreams come true, but you never quit pursuing them. And these youngsters from this school have really got something to be proud of, as do the Vegas players who are going to the Final Four. We'll bring down the final seconds. And the running Rebs will head to the Final Four for the 3rd time. And there's a couple of the reasons why. Messrs. Johnson and Ogman. Out of bounds. It'll be UNLV's ball with 37 seconds to go. And it's hello, Denver.
Well, Brent, many people felt when this season started that UNLV would be the best team in America. I think right now going into the Final Four, they would have to be, if you were going to reseed the Final Four, probably the #1 seed.
I didn't think that they played particularly well in the first 3 games in this tournament, not up to their par, but today was as fun a display as they've had on both ends of the floor in a long time.
Well, let's just enjoy the work now of our director, Larry Cavalita, and our fine producer, Bob Dekas, as this one closes out now in Oakland, California. UNLV going to the Final Four.
Second free throw.
You know another interesting thing is to watch how kids celebrate when the game ends, because if there's not a big celebration, it sometimes means that we think there are bigger things ahead.
UNLV will take on Georgia Tech in the second of the Final Four games next Saturday. Duke and Arkansas will start it off. Our Chevrolet players of the game, you could have selected anyone from UNLV, but we're going to go with Anderson Hunt. He broke out of that slump with 30 points and 13 assists. Bo Kimball, his final game, and what a job. 42 points. So the dream comes to an end. And UNLV now with a Rocky Mountain high heads to Denver in the Final Four. Jim Nance is coming up in just a moment. This was Jerry Tarkanian, who is heading back to the Final Four. Billy?
Jerry, I know you love to be back at the Final Four. Can your team play any better than that?
I thought we played really well, Billy, but I really want to take my hat off to Loyola. I've had great respect for them all year. Great admiration for the job they did with everything they've been through, and obviously I'm pleased we're going back to the Final Four.
And one of the reasons right here, Anderson, I don't think you fellas looked confident early on in the NCAA tournament in the backcourt, but you really had it today.
Yeah, we weren't playing well, you know, the first and second round, but Coach got on me and Greg, and we started playing.
Played well, Brent.
And, Billy, we can't go away without a final word from Bo Kimball, who played his heart out in this tournament. Bo, I know it's an unhappy ending, but a great job.
Yes, sir. I'm happy. I'm proud of my teammates. We gave 100%, and that's what it's all about, just giving your best, and we did.
Paul West had an unhappy ending, but really a glorious run for this school.
Well, we have a great team, Brett, and, you know, Vegas was just too strong for us today, but our guys played as best they could.
All right, well, congratulations to everybody as UNLV now heads to the Final Four, where they'll take on Georgia Tech. Now let's send you back to New York and Jim Nance.
All right, Brent, and we also add our congratulations not only to Jerry Tarkanian and his Running Rebels for advancing to the Final Four, but also to Paul Westhead and his Loyola Marymount team. 3 weeks ago today, they endured a devastating personal tragedy. And today, once again, even in losing, they were valiant beyond expectation. Their extraordinary courage and grace during this tournament will serve as a lasting tribute to Hank Gather's memory. And so, for Mike Francesa and all of us here at CBS Sports, I'm Jim Nance. We'll see you in Denver on Saturday. Right now, we leave you with some bright, shining moments on another weekend on the road to the Final Four.
The ball is close. Feel the touch tonight. The rhythm in your shot. And your step is light. The crowd goes wild. It's but you know. It's another game. You be almost home. You that one shining moment. You reach to the sky. One shining moment.
Think about making a living. Well, didn't you ever want to be a baseball player? Well, sure. Everybody has that dream.
Killer band of Eric Davis that said, "Make my day."